About a year and a half ago, I had the privilege of being appointed to the position, and he imported me from the West Coast.
He did. Okay,
He did.
so you're an import.
I am.
All right. Now, did you leave the West Coast politics back there in California?
I did.
Just joking. So, and you really like it here in the Cowboy State, but I think you have a lot to offer too. Tell us a little bit about what your job entails and some of the challenges maybe that the state has brought to you and how you're handling some of that as far as schools and building and what have you.
The School Facilities Commission and the department, they were created about 10, 12 years ago, and really a focus of both the administration and the legislature, the previous administration and this administration, and the legislature towards education. And the built environment is a critical part of it. It's also very expensive to build public schools, and so having a better understanding of what we need to build, when we need to build it, where we need to build it, was really important to the legislature, really important to the governor, and so I'm happy to be here helping them with those.
And the
issues.
governor is very, very enthusiastically involved with education here in the state, and you get to work with him as well.
It was one of the reasons why I came, is because he's such a strong governor on education, and also the legislature is so committed to this. And the question just is, how do we get it done? How do we get it done in a cost-effective way? How do we get it done so that education is advanced? How do we get it done so that we continue with local control, which is so important in Wyoming?
And that's a big thing, is that local control, and especially in the face with some of the actual education components like Common Core and whatnot. How are some of the, say, local school boards? I'm sure you work with some of them and some of the decision making and whatnot. What are the voices that you're hearing throughout the 23 counties here in the state of Wyoming as far as wanting local control? Is that dealing with design, location, and everything else?
Yeah, it is. Part of what I had done when I first came here was visit all 48 school districts. We have 48 school districts, 23 counties, and I made it a point to visit with them and visit with their superintendents, their school boards, their teachers, and their students, and get to know who they are and how different they are. One of the things I discovered that I was surprised about was how diverse Wyoming is. It's an amazingly diverse state, and those things are all very important. Everything you just listed is important to them. And so the idea is to create some predictability and manage the program at a state level, but also allow those local decisions to be made the way that many of those communities want to make them.
So how do you go about that? I mean, without John Wayne in a community, how do you go about, how do you work with these local school districts to help, you still have a responsibility. Well, for example, 16-1 for K through 3, that is the law of the land here in Wyoming. So Bill Panos is faced with the fact that he has to do the bidding of the legislature because it is the law, but yet he still has to work with that local element. How does Bill do that?
So we partner, and we partner with these local communities, and we not just say we're going to be a partner, we act like one. And so we are there to help them achieve their goals. And that is a strong commitment that I've heard time and time by this governor, time and time by the legislature, has been partner with them to help them meet their goals. And so when we have something like 16-1, that resonates differently in these different communities. And so as a partner, we're aware of those differences, and we help them to achieve that. And frankly, we've done a great job over the last few years, particularly in the last decade, of investing heavily in the built environment for public schools and towards 16-1. And because of that, we're starting to make significant progress in what we'll call the backlog of having to catch up. We've been able to make significant progress towards 16-1, and we're not quite there yet, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We'll be the first state in the United States to actually achieve many of the things that all of the other states are trying to achieve.
So we've been hitting the ground running on that. That's great. If you just joined us this morning, we're talking with Bill Panos. He is the director of Wyoming School Facilities. And I also want to ask you, Bill, just kind of bringing it here locally a little bit, sure. How does, say, Laramie County 2, talking about still in the context of working with communities and goals, and I realize that one is smaller than the other. How does that differ a little bit with Laramie County 1? Are you finding out that pretty much the same concerns are there, or does it differ a little bit because that's a little bit more rural out that way? What are some of the differences, and how have you worked with the two?
Yeah, they're remarkably different. One is very much a smaller community. It's right on the border with Nebraska. That's Laramie 2, Pine Bluff School District. And then Laramie 1 is our largest school district in the state, and and it has almost an urban sense about it. And there are different challenges. There are different challenges for those communities, and there are different histories and legacies, and they're different. In a way, Wyoming shares values, but also these unique communities have their own values, and so there are different needs. And so again, we partner in a very articulate and a very thoughtful way. We listen to our client districts and we respond to them in the way that is going to be meaningful to them to get to the goals that those school boards want to accomplish and those communities want to accomplish.
Right. We were talking a little bit off air about, you and I both grew up in Southern California, and we had what we called bungalows back in the 70s, but they call them modulars. Yeah. Modulars now, and it wasn't really a big deal back then. I mean, it had air conditioning, heat, they had windows, kind of got you out of the building, kind of in a unique place. Are you finding out that is Laramie 2, is that a big deal out there, or are they kind of like Laramie 1 where they really want their kids in the building?
Portable classrooms or modular classrooms, or I think in the past they've been called bungalows, those are all a tool that we use when we have a capacity issue or we have growth in a community. As you know, Laramie 1 has seen a lot of growth, particularly with the base lately. When we have those kinds of growth projections, we want to get those out there because we can get them out quickly, use them as a temporary solution, and then come in with a construction project behind it. And that's just a tool that we use, and we use it all over the state because we have these varying degrees of both, of growth. In Casper, we might have growth in Gillette. We may not have as strong a growth in Evanston, but we have to use a variety of different tools to be able to meet the needs of our client districts and our communities. And it's just one of the tools that we use. They're very nice facilities, although temporary. They're safe. Obviously, they're well lit. They're air conditioned, and so they work very well. But again, they're temporary until such time that we can bring in a construction project to solve the capacity problem there.
All right, we're talking with Bill Panos. We're going to take a break, Director of Wyoming School Facilities. When we return, we'll talk a little bit about funding and design of our schools here in the Cowboy State. We're glad to have him here with us. First time I've been on the air with him, and already enjoying it. 9:19 is your time, and we will have more of a discussion with Bill Panos, Director of Wyoming School Facilities, right here on AM 650 KGAB and KGAB.com. Good morning.
I'll never forget
that moment.
As long as I live.
As long as I live.
My first call-up ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires.
Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews.
At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Wyoming National Guard, aired by the Wyoming Association of Broadcasters and this station.
2 little tablets is all it takes to make your thin hair feel and look thicker and fuller, guaranteed. Viviscal is clinically researched to promote existing hair growth for men and women. You'll love your hair growth results, guaranteed. Viviscal is so effective, it's recommended by top doctors. Want to try Viviscal? Every listener that calls now gets a 90-day risk-free supply plus free shipping. Call now, 800-970-7643. 800-970-7643. That's 800-970-7643.
They start out so small, yet they grow so quickly. You want the best for your kids from the very beginning. So when the time comes to start school, give them the best opportunity to succeed right from the start. Destiny Christian Academy offers an individualized education in a peace-filled Christian academy. Discover the difference. Visit Destiny Christian Academy during their kindergarten roundup on April 14th, 16th, and 17th. Call 635-3759 for times and more information.
At Brakes Plus, we take care of your car and you. Every detail counts. We give free estimates before any work is done. Plus, our certified technicians know your time is valuable, so same-day service is always our priority. Plus, we offer a free shuttle to work or home. Right now, get our premium brake package for only $99. Service you can trust at a price you can afford. Brakes, maintenance, repairs, we do it all.
America comes to Brakes Plus. Your body is designed to move, to walk, run, jump, and bend. It's stressful and taxing when your body doesn't work the way you need it to. We're here to help. The Orthopedics program at Cheyenne Regional is designed to help you get your busy, active lifestyle back and to help you keep it. We offer surgical and non-surgical rehabilitative solutions for your bone, joint, and sports-related injuries. To learn more about how we can help you get you back to your best self, visit CheyenneRegional.org/ortho.
You're listening to KGAB Mornings with Gary Freeman on AM 650 KGAB.
And good morning. 9:22 is the time here on Cheyenne's #1 News Talk Radio. Good Wednesday morning to you. For a lot of you, this is your Thursday because tomorrow is your Friday and you're off for Good Friday. So I'll be in for, probably 4 or 5 hours on Friday, and then I plan to bail out and go do something fun. And hopefully the weather will cooperate. We will get that live day weather forecast tomorrow morning at 6:45 here on KGAB Mornings with Gary Freeman. Well, our guest in studio with us is Tony Panos, and he's the director of Wyoming School Facilities. Glad to have him in here with us, highlighting some of the things and challenges and the way he approaches working with a lot of these school districts. There's 48 of them in the Cowboy State and 23 counties. If you have a question for Bill, we invite you to call at 632-6500 or 632-3323. We would love to hear from you. So, Bill, this is 2015, and I know when we have new schools going up, we are concerned about some of the more the design that's going on. How do we come up with the funding for this? How does a guy like you kind of look at what the need is, look at the design, and then say, well, this is what we have in the coffer? How do you differentiate all that?
So the state of Wyoming is blessed in many ways, but it's also blessed with a mineral-based economy. And so we have the great fortune here of being able to utilize revenues from that mineral-based economy to to design and build public schools. We're one of the only states that have that are able to do that with the kinds of mineral-based economy that we have. More importantly, we're the only state in the United States that funds 100% of school design, of land design, construction, and renovation of our public schools from the state of Wyoming. Now, there are some local monies that are utilized for some what we call enhancements. These are add-ons, these are extras that maybe a community might want because of its own choices. But the fundamental design and construction and renovation of public schools is paid for by the state of Wyoming from this mineral-based economy.
So basically then, not that you have free reign with this money per se, but there are a lot of liberties there in order to do that, to build these schools. Like, for instance, we're building Davis here in town. I think Meadowbrook's another one. Also, way up north of town here, we're building Prairie Wind. And there was a little bit of a fight on the Prairie Wind there. I'm assuming that you were here during the time about 2 or 3 years ago. People were worried about sewer water. I think some of the neighbors came out of the woodwork. And so this is another challenge, I guess, for your department to be able to work with the people in those communities as well.
Yeah, this is the job. The job is looking at what makes sense for the community and trying to come up with solutions, cost-effective solutions that allow them to get the best school possible, and then to get it built, get it designed and built as quickly as we can, and that's what's going on in Prairie Wind and others. And I actually wasn't here, but I have been
you were briefed, I'm sure,
about the whole history of the project, and I read up on the project as I do on all the projects, and so I'm aware of some of the turns that went on with that particular decision. But we have similar turns in discussions and in decisions throughout the state, and it's just part of the job. And so we, again, as I talked about before, we work very closely with our partners, and if they want to turn right, we turn right with them. If they want to turn left a little bit now, we turn left with them, and we try and accommodate them as much as we can with the guidance that we're being given from, again, the state legislature in funding these particular projects.
That's awesome. 632-6500, 632-3323 is the phone number if you would like to ask Bill Panos a question. He's the director of Wyoming School Facilities. So one of the schools that I saw, and I'm assuming maybe that you toured through them, and that's Goins. Are you familiar with our Goins Elementary School?
I am.
They widened the hallway so that they can bring special groups or reader groups out into the hallway. It sounds like this is a fairly new design. Are a lot of our newer schools going with that design, or what are some of the other kind of cool things, I guess, that you would deem pretty cool in a school design versus what we had 20 years ago?
Yeah, the built environment contributes to academic outcomes. It's been shown through a lot of different research around the country where if you build a proper environment for students to learn and for teachers to teach, they do better. Mm-hmm. And they show up at school more, they stay, and they do better on their tests. And so we are cognizant of that. And so our designers and the people that put these designs together with our district clients do so with that in mind, with this education outcome in mind. And they do a fantastic job. And part of that is these kinds of learning communities where we get them out of the classroom and we bring them together, not just inside, by the way, we create them outside as well, so that the students have different kinds of environments to take different kinds of lessons. And we try and make these facilities as flexible as possible so that they can last 30 to 50 years with varying teachers and with different curriculum.
Awesome. All right, let's go to the phones. Good morning. You're on with Director of Wyoming School Facilities, Bill Panos. Good morning. It's your turn.
Good morning, Gary. Hey, I've got a quick question or thought, I guess. Is there any interest in teleconferencing classes? And I guess what I'm referring to is it seems that, we're putting a lot of money into schools and teachers and staff to run these schools and everything. But are we looking at, say in the senior high grades, filing the kids into the auditorium and having a teacher and having that streamed, a class streamed in, and all the kids in 4 or 5 dozen schools, or if they're at home, wherever they're at, can log on and take that class and then have, some assistance to answer questions or whatever at the schools. But it would seem that, we could cut some of our costs if we were using the technology that's out there, and I think it would be actually cheaper than building schools.
Hey, thanks a lot, Chris, for the call. Let him get that answer in, Bill.
The process of delivering education has to take on a variety of different approaches, and the caller hit it spot on. We are building infrastructure throughout the state to do what we call digital learning or remote learning. Many of our schools throughout the state are needed in these very rural or remote places, and we have to have digital learning. We have to have remote learning to be able to do that. The governor's infrastructure initiative, where we're building a 100 gigabit ring around the state, is going to help that. In fact, many of our schools located in communities are going to be the hubs of that 100 gigabit ring, and we can connect in. So that is going to be part of the solution, as we're building public schools here in the state of Wyoming.
All right, Bill Panos, thanks a lot for being on today. It was nice meeting you, sir. Very good, lively discussion, and of course, hopefully we'll be able to have you on again sometime as we see things coming up.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, very good. All right, Bill Panos, ladies and gentlemen, he is the Director of Wyoming School Facilities for the state of Wyoming, and we will hopefully have him on again. A lot of good information, gives us a little bit of insight of kind of what the brain of the state is doing when we see these things popping up around town. And thanks a lot, Bill, for coming in. All right, 9:29 is the time. Straight ahead, Fox News. We'll also open it up, take some of your phone calls today if you'd like, at 632-6500, 632-3323. My name is Gary Freeman. This is KGAB Mornings on Cheyenne's #1 News Talk radio station, AM 650, KGAB, and KGAB.com. Good morning.